Boom. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is Taco Tuesday. Or as Peter Mazuik would say, good morning, carne asada taco fans. Taco fans. There you go. So super cool. It is Tuesday. It is episode number 47. I know I got it wrong yesterday by making it 45. It is 47. And I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler. We're excited to have you along wherever you're watching, near and far. And we are live right now on Roku, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I think that's it. That's enough, though. It's enough.
I think that's it.
Right? We got a lot of places that we are this morning. Hey, we had a great conversation yesterday. We've been talking about this for the last couple days. I just wanted to, Nate, before we get into today's show, which, by the way, if you're a soccer fan, today this show might not be for you, in the sense that we are going to spend some time on bracketology here today. NCAA March Madness tournament getting underway. We are going to, on the air here, pick who we think is going to win the whole damn thing. Well, at least I'm going to kind of go through this. I think you've already done your thing, but we're going to do it live on the air. So I want a full disclaimer right now. So it might not be soccer heavy like it's been over the last couple weeks. But, hey, Inside the Game isn't just about soccer. It's about sports. And we're going to go inside the brackets, right? Inside the brackets. But either way, we talked yesterday, Nathan, about high school players coming back. And you posted that conversation that we had on TikTok, and it sparked, I think, some high school kids. They chimed in, and I would say high school age kids, maybe not high school kids, but that they like, hey, there were some comments in regards to this conversation. And obviously there's an emotional component to this, right? We talk about that. Let's be honest. Aside from the fact that you want to play for your school and whatever, that's all basically emotional. It's the emotional, psychological component of playing in sports. I mean, I can't tell you how many athletes probably go, man, I love playing in front of 70,000 people. No one wants to go play a football game in an empty stadium on a Tuesday afternoon. They want to go play in front of 80, 100,000 people, right? There's something to be said about playing for that team that you watched growing up as a child on TV, right? So that I don't think that is what we're even talking about. I if I brushed over it and didn't make that the point, there's the emotional aspect. I want to play for my team. I want to play for my school. Yeah, I get it. We all get it. But at least from my perspective, what the struggle is here to understand is that, and I think me and you, Nathan, were just talking about this, is that, the players out there, the ones who are going to go play at a high level, they have goals. They have things that they want to accomplish, right? They want to get to that Division I school. They want to get to the what they consider to be their dream school, right? Where, to be fair, most of these promises that we talked about last week that maybe college coaches are making to kids are being made. You know what I mean? I don't, and maybe broken. I don't know if the Division II school, the Division III school is maybe suffering from that same problem, where you're making all these promises. You know what I mean? I feel like you're getting players that you need right away, and are going to go someplace else. Like I feel like that's a big proponent now of these environments, right? But the player who's entering high school as a freshman right now, who is playing MLS Next, who's not playing high school soccer as a freshman. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. We have Ryan Gagnon. Ryan Gagnon is a camera operator. He's been working with us for 3 years. His son is a very talented soccer player. He's gone and tried out at many different MLS programs around the country. He's been offered opportunities in those environments. He plays MLS Next right now for the Michigan Wolves. He grows up. He lives in Holly. Now, Holly is their school has gotten better in the soccer realm. Eric Ransom is doing a fantastic job there at Holly, trying to create an environment, a culture where players are going to want to come in and be a part of it. But he's not playing for his high school he didn't play as a freshman, probably won't play as a sophomore, probably won't play as a junior. Why? Because his son wants to go play high-level college soccer. He's been scouted. So what's going to happen is he's going to go and do all this. The parents are traveling all over the country right now, right? ID camps, tournaments, you name it. They're doing all these things. And he's not playing. Now, argument would be, okay, well, Holly's not a very good soccer program, so it makes sense for him to not, right? How many high school on this country are not playing for their high school because it's a garbage team? And I don't mean to say that with being but it's not a team that's going to go out and win games. So why would you subject yourself to that? So what are you going to do instead? You go to classes, you're going to go to your trainings, you're going to do whatever, and you're not going to even play, right? The reality is it's not the teams that are struggling that is the problem. It's the teams that have historically had good programs, right? Because if you're a junior or senior high school boy or girl for that matter, and your team has never been good, why would you leave a good environment to go play for your school? So on the comments that we saw yesterday, where when is winning ever been something that people hadn't thought about? Correct. These kids aren't going to losing programs and playing. They're going to winning programs. Teams that are winning regardless of whether or not they're there or not. And the difference maker would be, okay, let's be honest. Let's look at teams that have won historically in professional sports that maybe until they had a LeBron James couldn't get over the goal line, couldn't get a championship. Think about that for a second. How many times have we seen that, right? Where teams, right? You saw it, we saw it with Jared Goff and the Rams, right? Matt Stafford was here in Detroit. For whatever reason, couldn't get over the hump. They bring in Matt Stafford, finds a way year one win a Super Bowl. Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, right? Won Super Bowls in New England, comes into Tampa year one. They win magically? No, they brought the right player in. So these players are going into programs that are already at the top of their level. They just haven't been able to get over the hump, maybe. Maybe they're missing a component. And here comes these 2 or 3 players that can have an immediate impact that can push them into the promised land. You're not talking about this in teams where the team's 0-17. We never in Birmingham Groves ever got an academy player back while I was coaching there. Never. And we had 3 or 4 in the school at any given time. Why? Because our program was not the one that would they wouldn't see themselves winning a state championship with us. And that wasn't a knock on coaching or a knock. They probably just didn't see it as a place for them to step outside of what they were doing to really put us in a position where we could win a state championship. Wasn't even a thing of reality. So, again, it's a short-sighted, I think, position, and it's based on emotion and not based on logic. Emotionally, playing for your school, of course. But are you going to go play for your school if they're 0-20? They haven't won a game in 16 years. Are you going to go play for your school if they don't have a hope? If you're like the best player and it's like a long shot best player, right? Let's be honest. The teams we saw with Rochester Adams, you could look at that roster top to bottom. And there were great players all across it. But the players that came back were not far and away better than everybody else. They were a step ahead. They were a couple steps here and there. But that roster was loaded from top to bottom with high-level players. And Alex Rosine coming in and a number of other players coming in, that made that roster so much stronger by adding those players in. But let's be honest, they would have made a deep playoff run regardless. We saw it 2 years prior. They won it back in 2023. We watched it with our own very eyes. So, and Peter's coming in, by the way. Peter did say happy 47th episode. Tom Glavin coming in here. Right.
Good poll. Well done, Peter.
High school soccer programs are generally not the most talented. IMHO. Maybe I missed what that means.
In my humble opinion.
Not back it enough. Oh, in my humble opinion. Okay, thank you. It's true.
Yeah.
High school, again, if you think about it from the standpoint, even, let's be honest, if I look at football, there's a lot of Pee-wee, right? There's Pee-wee football. And obviously in Texas is probably, unbelievably great, right? I would imagine that Pee-wee football here in the United States, here in Michigan, where we're located, you go for these varying degrees, or middle school, whatever, and then you go to your middle school. I think it stops after middle school. You go, and then it's just personalized trainings and camps that you go to. You get into your middle school environment. If there's a middle school program, you'll play in your middle school, and then they'll feed into your high school program. there isn't like this massive travel football league that I've ever heard of, right? It's all being done at the middle school and high school levels for the most part, and then your Pee Wee programs. These players are being developed without ever having to go into these like massive club environments like it is at all these other sports.
Right.
You know, right? They don't have to. But in soccer, you know, you have these choices. You said AAU yet. You know, you don't have, you can play both at the same time. Which again, I don't know if that's if in the MHSA they're very weird about, not weird, and I'm not saying in a negative way, but they are very protective of their players, and they have a lot of archaic rules. So I don't know if you can play AAU at the same time.
No, not literally at the same time. I think they're different seasons.
But you're taking a break. It's like, you know, you're taking a break. Now I don't know if again, I don't know if there is like an AAU academy, you know, where you're like, you know, you're in this other thing and you don't go. I mean, obviously there's organizations like what out in Bradenton, Florida, right? You've got what is it called? What's it called? IG something. I'm thinking, I can't think of the top of my head. IMG, thank you. I mean, there's those types of environments where you're going to just skip it. There's a whole bunch of basketball like specific schools where kids could go, and that's they like literally play basketball like 20 hours a day, and they go to school for like 3. I mean, that's probably a real thing. You know, so obviously every sport still has those kind of environments. But I don't want it to be like we're against the kids playing high school sports. It's not against that at all. I just think that if your goal is to go play at the highest level and you want to do that, great. But once you get there, once you've gotten it, you want to come back. I feel like it's a slap in the face to kids that didn't do it. I feel like it's a slap. And that's because I didn't experience it. But as a player, as a competitive player who last night played my kids and named the capitals around the country, and I won, my high school daughter. You know, I'm very competitive. Bit her 26-24. Right. But my point though is that I'm very competitive. I had to wait my turn. I had to sit down on a bench, and I had to go to practice every day. I had to do all these things. And to be fair, there was some resentment that I had because there were players who during my career couldn't do all the things that I could do. And I resented that. I resented it on a personal level, not a team level. Our team was winning. Our team won state championships. So that those small resentments, they didn't ultimately kind of carry this negative thing on the whole team. But you know, you have this core of players who come in every day. They work their tails off, and they want success. They want to win, and they want to win no matter what. And yeah, they'll make their sacrifices because that's what players will do. Good players will make sacrifices. They will compromise, and they doesn't mean that they're happy about it. They'll tolerate it because they want to win. If you don't win, it's not worth it. But if you're going to win the damn thing, of course, you get to hoist a championship trophy and have a ring on your finger. Great. But there are players out there that just don't understand that, especially in today's world where they don't have that competitive fight that we have. You know, that we grew up with, where you know maybe they're just like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm here for fun. You know, those players aren't ever going to get this. You know, and that's the part that I struggle with, and I know you have a few points you want to make, but that's my perspective. I just, you know.
Listen, winning impacts everything. Winning is good for administrators. Winning is good for coaches. Winning is good for players. Winning is good for brand reputation for the school. There's an understanding that, you know, because you mentioned specifically Rochester Adams, what they've done. Yeah, it's good because what it does is it brings more attention to your school. When you talk about the sport of soccer, really at the high school level, I think about really one school in particular, especially when we talk about ramping up preseason and standings and all that stuff. I think about Rochester Adams. I think about that area of the state. You know, how is it that one area of the state just somehow possesses, you know, what seems like the majority of the soccer talent is just crazy to me. You can't, to those of you who might be watching this later on social media or to those who are actively watching right now, you can't come away with a full-blown conclusion based off of watching 1-minute videos from our show. Okay, that was a question yesterday that was posed. Is it fair? That's the question. Okay, that we're not blaming athletes for doing it. We're not blaming kids for wanting to play with their friends. I would never do that because, again, I tend to believe that the entire time you wanted to play with your friends. Why wouldn't you? Who actively decides, I don't want to play with my friends, I want to be over here, and even if the team is 500, perennially 500, or they're okay or not quite over the hump, I still believe that there's still a want to go out and play with your friends. I've played on teams that were bad in high school, but I still had a riot. And losing was not fun, but there was still a lot that I took away from that experience. So you can't really come to a conclusion based off of these 1 minute videos that you see of us on social media. So that emphasizes the need of follow the podcast, okay? Watch us, listen to us, right? Every weekday, 9 to 10 a.m. here inside the game. We talk about all of it, and we talk about it in depth, okay? So I'm a lot of those are just to pose the questions, and that's why I appreciate people that respond, because it means that obviously we're getting the dialogue going. The other part that I'll add to this, yes, there is something uniquely off about you were not a part of the process all along. For 3 years, you were somewhere else. You were not in the locker room. You were not in the weight training sessions. You were not at the team building exercises. You were not a part of the good moments and the bad moments. You might have heard about it. Yeah, because obviously you have friends on the team and you go to class with these guys and you share all your time with these guys. But uniquely, you were not a part of the struggle in one way or the other. You weren't a part of that. Yes, you were developing and you were getting better and you were doing all these other things, but you made the choice. You, the student athlete, along with your friends and your family and everybody else, you made the choice to make this choice to go somewhere else and to do something else. And we've seen this specifically with IMG Academy. When you look at different sports, that's kind of like where it is with a lot of the other sports, because you're right. There's a system for football in high schools, right? You don't really have to go play for a club team in football. You come up through high school, and even if you go to a smaller high school with social media nowadays, if you have the physical tools, you'll go on and play somewhere, right? They'll find you, right? Even with all the other sports, basketball, it's a different season. Hockey, it's different. But we talked about how unique it is in the sport of soccer, because it's not like that. If you want to get to the highest level, you have to go play the most competitive talent in the best leagues. So it's not, we can't blame the player, because again, they want to put themselves in the best opportunity, and who blames them? But it just doesn't seem fair, because I remember, when I was in high school playing sports, the football is a far different story, but I always remember the coach himself being like, hey, if you want to join the team your senior year, or if you haven't played for a couple of years and you've been doing other things or playing different things, and all of a sudden now you're hopping on, you have to realize, even if you're the most talented person on the field, you're probably not going to play as much. You're probably not going to get the same opportunities, because you weren't here all along. You didn't go through the entire process all these years. And so why would I, as a coach, why would I feel justified in putting you out there in positions to go succeed or take someone else's spot who has suffered through what the program has put them through for the last 2-3 years? So it's a dual-edged sword, and no one is saying that it's bad that these kids are going back and playing for their high schools, because JT, I think there's something uniquely charming about high schools and communities rallying around their team. Because frankly, that's what you see if you go over to Europe. Every community has a team, and every community is insane about their team, and they show it. And there's that sense of community pride, and that's what I love about high school sports, and it's regardless of sport. And I love, like you said, the emotional component. I love seeing that, and I love seeing guys rallying up with their high school teams and playing. But it's also, number one, you're taking a spot away from someone, and number two, once again, you haven't been there. You haven't been there. You've been away. And so why do all of a sudden you have the right to come in and be the guy? And the other thing is, and it doesn't necessarily sit right with me, but win these awards as the best soccer player, the best high school soccer player in Michigan, and these other awards. You've been here 1 year. You've been here 1 year. And so I will always cheer on guys who want to play high school sports, because it's better for business. It's better for us. I love the community aspect. I love the aspect of, like a Troy High School playing in Adams, like literally right down the road. You know, I mean, you can call it the Crosstown Showdown. It's not really crosstown. It's, you know, I'm sure you could ride a bike from one place to the other. But that's what I love about high school soccer, because to be completely honest with you, like, yeah, it might be high level soccer, but I just don't. I mean, how many people are coming out to watch the MLS Next, like Seattle Sounders?
They're not.
You know what I mean? They're not. They're not, because it's all about development, and I get it. And you want to go back and you want to have that emotional component in that side.
They
the
play in these
playoffs.
empty stadiums. I mean, they
massively
play in
empty
these
stadiums.
massive empty. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
So
I mean, we did the UPSL game in Columbus. Like, it's you could argue that's the same thing. So I don't blame them wanting to go back. And if you add a couple of good pieces, honestly, that could push you over the hump. We see it all the time, as you just mentioned earlier. It really can, even if you're just a 500 team. But we have to realize we're not blaming the athlete themselves. Okay, but we're frustrated with the fact that you probably have to break contract in order to make this happen. You probably have to step out of bounds in order to make coming back to high school happen, because you had already committed to whatever it was at your club team. That's it's creating this conflict. So is it fair? That's the question. To some, they might say, yeah, it's completely fair. We're still high school kids. You know, like you saw the one comment you responded to the other day. We're still high school kids. We're high school age. We go to the school. We should be able to do that. And then there's the other side that says, well, it's a little cheap that you can be away for 3 years and then just come back and all of a sudden you're the guy. So I don't think there's a one-way street, one-way answer to this. That's just the situation we're laying out.
Yeah, there isn't. There is not a one-way answer. And again, the system is to blame, not an individual.
Yeah.
Right. It's the system. It's not the player. It's not the parents. It's not the coaches. It's not the club. It's not the high school. It's not it's everybody. Right. It's everybody, because again, and if we talk about, like, my job as a parent, and obviously you're not a parent, but your job as a parent to a dog, you're, a dog parent, is to prepare that dog so that, the foundation is there so that dog makes good choices. My dog, we didn't do a very good job with that, likes to eat gum right out of the box. I mean, like, doesn't even care. There's wrapping around, just eats it. I don't know, anyways, I digress about my dog. Love my dog. Go Rocky. But here, our problem probably is we call him Rocky Oreo. Probably our problem is when you name a dog Rocky and then you name Oreo as his nickname, chances are
he's just
it's going to want to eat a whole bunch of Oreos.
Yeah.
Whether they want it or not, you ask it or not, just going to start doing it. But we can talk about this until the sticky notes turn yellow, but they might. I don't know. They could yell. Oh, wait, there they are. But no, I do want to move on here. What I want to finish with this point is that the system is to blame, and everybody's involved in that, and that may include us. Even us here in the media, to be included in that conversation. A high school athlete should not have to make this choice. They shouldn't. They should not have to. They should not have to be in a position where they have to make a choice between playing for their local high school, which they go to on a daily basis, or their private school, whatever school they go to, and playing for their club soccer team. It should not be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. I throw the development out the window for a second. Again, the vast majority of these players will never see an international field in their entire lifetime. All right, so we're not talking about the up-and-coming, the Christian Pulisic's of the world, the Lionel Messi's. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the average kid who probably is above average, who has been accepted into an MLS Next program or accepted into these programs, and maybe we'll go play Division I college soccer someplace, Division II soccer, maybe. That's the kids. That's the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of these players should not have to make a choice. They shouldn't.
Right.
And I think more importantly is it's either all or it's nothing. It's all or nothing. Mm-hmm. Yes, you've made your choice. It sucks. That's the world we live in. You have to stick with the choice. You made your choice. And the consequence of that choice is you don't get to play high school soccer. It is no different than if you're an NCAA athlete and you decide to go pro. You have waived your right to come back and play at a collegiate level. You are no longer an amateur. You have lost your ability to do that. How many college baseball players were drafted by a Major League Baseball team and are playing collegiate baseball right now. They have a contract, but what they've done, they have not received any money from Major League Baseball at that point. So they're playing collegiate baseball so they can continue to have their ability to play. They have not lost their eligibility. I firmly believe the best answer here is the second that someone signs that agreement to an MLS Next program and bypass their first season with high school, they're done. You've lost your eligibility to play. Solves the problem. Takes it right off the plate. And you know what that means? One, clubs out there around the country, I'll be like, whew, okay, well, at least we know we're getting the kid. He's not going anywhere. And then two, the high schools now know they don't have to go fighting for anybody. I don't got to go ask kids to go get this kid to come, whatever. No, it's like, okay, make your choice. And then that's it. Stop making it where, yeah, you can break your contract if you want to, blah, blah. No, make a decision. That's what we should have done here. And then that way, at least the player knows. Because right now, the player is signing an agreement knowing there's a chance they could still walk away. No consequences. Maybe a little small slap on the wrist if in the club, because the club wants to win soccer games. So they're going to, of course, bring a player back, especially if they're great, right? So, no. You say, if you sign the deal, you lose your eligibility. You can't do it. You're done. How many players will stop playing high school soccer or club soccer because of that decision? It'll take it. And then the kid who's been playing high school soccer for 3 or 4 years, who is arguably the best player in high school soccer for that state for that year, and has been very good for 4 years, will not get screwed out of a yearly award because a player comes back in from the other realm and has a fantastic year, is the best player in the state because that's where they were, but they weren't the best high school player in the state for 4 years, right? And now those players aren't getting screwed anymore. Right. So you see how that. So again, how many times have we seen that happen? So my message to these associations and to clubs and hey, eligibility is a thing. Get rid of it. Take it off the table. Problem solved. The second you decide that you want to go play in that environment and bypass your high school year, you lose your eligibility.
Right.
Done. No different than when I mean, how many times? I'll tell you this. This is crazy, Nathan. We had a young lady who was going to a private school here locally in Michigan. Going to private school. She lived in Rochester, but went to a private school in Auburn Hills. And her parents were going through a tough battle. They were going through a divorce, and they could no longer afford to send this child to this private school. So she started to go to her regular high school. She had to apply to do a transfer to the MHSAA, and they denied her the ability to play her senior season because her parents could no longer afford to pay for private school. So she could not play high school soccer her senior year or whatever year it was. She lost a whole year of eligibility over a divorce that her parents had because they couldn't afford to do it anymore. So this girl got screwed. Now, nothing about that seems fair. Like, nothing about that seems fair. But it's some archaic rule, transfer rule, that has been in existence since 1941. And it's like, yeah, we'll just continue to honor that archaic rule. Girl got screwed. So is that different screwing than this? Yeah. But you could argue it's the same magnitude because there's a player out there who's not getting the spot they would normally have. They're losing their chance. They're losing their spot. If they were 11 on the roster, now they're 12. If they were 1, now they're 2. If they're 2, vice versa. I mean, it's, so that's my final thought on this. I'm just curious your final thought before we move on.
Yeah, it's the other side is hard, though, too. I agree, and that would definitely change a lot of minds, and it's tough because you're right. I mean, I don't think high school players should have to make this decision. I argue probably a lot of the pressure comes from parents, though, because winning does a lot, and I said coaches, administrators also does a lot for parents, too. If you get a full-ride scholarship or if you got a lot of money to go to college, think about how much weight that kind of takes off the wallet of mom and dad. So I think it's sad. I think it's unfortunate. I'll actually give one more to the players. Truth is, you got to put yourself in a good position in order to get in a good position, and that's just the way our world works sometimes. It's the way our world works, JT, you and I. I mean, we're doing obviously our upstart thing with what we have here, but truth is, as a broadcaster, I mean, I graduated from Cornerstone Universities. journey has been a little bit more of a roundabout way versus, some of these clones that are coming out of Arizona State and Syracuse. Typically they graduate and then all of a sudden they have a job in broadcasting. Congratulations, because you went to Syracuse. So it's like the same thing applies to sports, because you have to prove that you've been at a high level all along in order to get that job at the high level or have people trust you in that position. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're any more talented. It might just be my ego speaking, but I think I'm twice as talented as a lot of these dorks on like Big Ten Plus. But the truth is that they're at Michigan State.
Get him, Nathan. Get him.
Yeah. So sorry. Anyways, little aside there. But anyways, so
look at that
competitiveness
put yourself right there. You didn't lose your eligibility by coming to NSN.
But you got to put yourself in a good spot to get to a good spot. So there's that pull and push and pull that is going on. So yeah, very important to remember, we're not blaming the student athletes here, but the system that's in place is clearly not where it should be.
Couldn't agree more. Let's talk basketball bracketology.
Let's do it.
Bracketology.
That's how you preview it there for a second.
Bracketology. Bracket. It's a Scientology of brackets. Or
there
it's
you go.
It's I don't know. We'll call Tom Cruise.
Looking at it, then?
This is my first time looking at it, so I'm going to be doing this kind of blind. All right, so we're going to start in the South. This is ESPN. All right, and I'm going to follow this whole thing through. We're gonna keep an update on this. We're gonna kind of follow my path, and if you want to do one too, you can do. I know you've already done one, but I think this is kind of fun. So we're gonna go. So number 1 versus number 16. There are no. Aren't there playing games here? But they don't show them, huh?
I think they got them somewhere in there. I think as you or maybe as you go down.
Well, I don't see them. I'm looking here. I don't see because there's 68 teams that start off, and then it goes down from 68 to 64. There's 2 games that take place. I just don't see them. Maybe I'm missing them. I don't know. I guess they're just assuming these other teams aren't going to make it. Whatever. All right. Well, we'll start here in the South, and we'll move our way to the East. Okay. These games start on March 20th and 21st. Number 1 versus number 16. Auburn versus ALST. ALST or SFPA. So there's your playing. So they're just basically saying, that's your playing teams right there. So I'm gonna go Auburn. I have no idea who ALST and SFPA are. So maybe that would be it. So I'm gonna pick Auburn to win that game. All right, I'm just gonna go blindly with those 2 matchups. You've got Louisville versus Creighton. I've actually seen a lot of really cool things from Creighton this year. I've actually really seen a lot of really cool things out of Creighton, and obviously it'd be an upset. It'd be a small upset, but I'm going to go Creighton. I'm going Creighton in this one.
Creighton's a really good tournament team. They're a really good shooting team as well, and they've kind of cemented themselves as being a team that could do that. Yeah, I mean, they have a reputation when it comes to the tournament. Louisville has struggled, especially this year. I know that they've been better in Quad 1 games, but they're not who they used to be. And, of course, we'll touch on Rick Pitino here in a little bit and what he's doing at St. John's. But I think Creighton, in terms of their tournament pedigree and their shooting abilities, yeah, I'll give Creighton the nod on this one.
So then we're going to look here at Michigan, UC San Diego. I'm going to Michigan. Why not, right? I think it's kind of I think you're just not – it's not right that you're wearing a Northwestern, thing today.
It's like purple, man. That's all. No, but this one's that one's a concerning matchup because Michigan is one of the worst teams in the country when it comes to turnovers. UC San Diego is one of the best in terms of forcing turnovers. So that one might not be as convincing. I think Michigan obviously got better players. And here's the thing, like basketball is a tall man's game. They got they got the Twin Towers in the middle there at Michigan who can they can both do everything. So I think that's a.
But here's the thing though, right? Here's the thing that this 5-12, I don't know what it is, man. This 5-12, and no matter what it is, how many times have we seen Michigan State?
It's always
5
tricky.
seed? It's always 5. This 5-12 matchups are always tough, man. Always tough. So I'm looking at this and saying, yeah, I mean, upsets always happen this 5-12 matchup. Always. It's like, I remember it was like Gonzaga, MSU, 5-12. I felt like that was always 5-12. Yeah. But anyways, I pick Michigan to win this one. I feel like they're going to come out of this one with a victory. And then you've got Texas A&M and Yale, right? Now, I don't know much about Yale. I mean, Ivy League school. They're 13. I still like Texas A&M in this one, so I'm going to go Texas A&M.
I went Yale in mine.
Well, you did.
They are a extremely high IQ team, and they have been. It's another team,
isn't that obvious, though? I mean,
obviously. But they're a great tournament team. And shooting wise, they can get after you. They're just one of the best ball movement teams. It moves like water between Yale and Princeton. That's kind of the concept with those two teams. It never really touches the floor. I actually picked Yale in that one as my upset. But A&M's probably a safe bet. I think they're a 7.5 point favorite in that game. But that's another tricky one. Those 13-4s can also get a little tricky too. So I took Yale, but I think A&M also could be a safe bet.
We got Ole Miss, SDSU, and UNC. Is that one of the other plans?
Yep. So it's South Dakota State and North Carolina. North Carolina was the last bubble team to be let in. I think they had.
But why are they at the 11 though? Why are they making a plane at the 11?
Because they had three quad one wins because they were not good this year. They were not good, and for whatever reason, because they're UNC and this is the NCAA, and sometimes your brand takes you a lot further than what it should. They have an opportunity to play in the play-in. So I think are today the play-in games, or do the play-in start tomorrow? I can't remember.
Maybe I believe they start today because Tuesday.
Today.
I believe they start today.
Okay.
That's why the bracket is good till the 20th. That gives them a day in between because all these games start on Thursday. I'm picking Ole Miss at the 6th seed. Iowa State, Lipscomb. I'm going to go Iowa State. And Marquette, New Mexico. I'm actually going to pick Marquette here. I'm not a big fan of New Mexico. And then Michigan State, I will pick. But I do know the capital of New Mexico is Santa Fe, by the way.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, no, right.
Good.
All right. So there's my South bracket. I picked Michigan State to beat Bryant, and then Marquette to beat New Mexico. So we're gonna slide over here now to the East. Okay, we got Duke versus in the play-in American. Is that American Samoa? What is that?
American? Yeah, no, that's American University.
Okay. Wow.
And then I believe that's.
I don't know your name. I'm not picking you. So that's
fair. It's fair.
All right, Mississippi State, Baylor. I'm actually gonna go Baylor here. I like Baylor. Go 9 over 8.
I went Baylor.
I'm picking Oregon to beat Liberty. Which seems weird in its own right. I'm picking Arizona over Akron. Arizona's just they're all I know Akron may be a good team. I'm looking at this and saying that Arizona's probably I like Arizona more.
They're good. Akron ran through the MAC though. Akron owns.
Is that really saying a whole lot though?
Hey man, I mean Oakland did what they did. They were good in the Horizon League a year ago, and then they go out and did what they did against Kentucky. I'm not saying it means a lot, but Akron's got some dudes. All I'm saying is that one's going to be a ball game. This next one's interesting though. I always like Virginia Commonwealth. Someone in the corporate world be a manager without a college degree. You can't experience tops. College degrees, especially many years of experience. I would agree. Yeah, but like I said, JT actually alluded to this. A quick aside from what we're doing right now, like sometimes the best talent gets left on the chopping block simply because you're not in the right place at the right time. Like that's just how it is. It's how it goes sometimes. So sometimes you have to put yourself in the best spots possible, and that's why you can't blame it on the kids. There's that pressure on their shoulders.
I think we need to. I do want to address this for a moment.
Yeah.
So Peter's position is that someone in a management position needs to have a college degree in the corporate world. Is that his position? Am I reading this right?
Put the comment back up again. I don't
know. How can someone in the corporate world be a manager without a college degree? You can't. Experience tops college degrees, but how can someone?
It's not this versus that. I think I think the degree is important regardless. So I guess if we're going to nitpick what he said, I think you still have to have a degree. It's not like I can just not have a degree and claim that I should be in a position better than someone else. But it's what I was saying is the value of that degree. So like for a high school athlete, like okay, you played high school soccer at such and such a school, and you were really good and really talented and you developed yourself and you have all the physical capabilities of playing at the next level, but you don't get the looks because no one is paying attention to this school, right? Whereas if you had the parents who could afford to put you in MLS Next or ECNL or any of these other leagues, all of a sudden, automatically, right, that's the equivalent of I went to college at, a Yale or a Princeton, or I went to college or got my degree from a Michigan State or one of these places. Automatically, when you come out of school and you present that to everybody, even if you have less experience, like even if you were just, on 10 student-run productions during your time in college, that degree is still going to be infinitely more valuable than one from maybe an institution that no one's ever heard of. That was kind of the point. That was kind of the point that I was making.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Back to our bracketology.
Yeah.
Here, okay. So I've got right. BYU versus VCU. VCU. Walk me through who that is.
Virginia Commonwealth University.
That's right. Okay, cool. So
the Rams.
BYU. A lot of Ivy League teams, huh?
Yeah.
At least 3. Right.
So Yale.
Yeah, it's high IQ. Wisconsin versus Montana. Wisconsin falling in the Big Ten championship to Michigan, beating MSU in the semifinals. I'm going to pick Wisconsin to win that matchup. St. Mary's versus Vanderbilt. Now, St. Mary's. I like St. Mary's here. I like Vanderbilt too. I know it's Vanderbilt, but I'm going to call him Vanderbilt.
Vandy has been dangerous, man. And I know that there were a ton of SEC teams that were left in. Yeah, they've been solid.
The next question, Peter says, sorry. You don't have to be sorry. You're fine, dude. Good.
Oh, you're good.
Vanderbilt. Okay, so Alabama, Robert Morris. Robert Morris winning the Horizon League, beating Oakland in the semifinals, and then beating Youngstown State in the finals versus Alabama. Now, I mean, Robert Morris has some very good players, up-and-coming team, well coached. They're not the Oakland of yesteryear.
They're not the Tide.
They're not going to do
it's all about the
what
Tide.
Oakland did last year. So that wraps up. We'll just keep going here. Let's just finish this whole thing. So
we got 17 minutes left. We got to book it.
I go. All right. So I'm picking. I'm going to pick Auburn over Creighton.
All right.
I am a Michigan fan. I am a huge Michigan fan when it comes to football, but not basketball. Texas A&M for the win. Even though I'm sure people would like to see a rematch, right, of Michigan versus Michigan State, right? So that would probably be, screw it. Let's go Michigan. I want to see that rematch too. Screw it. Okay, Ole Miss, Iowa State. I'm going to pick Ole Miss to win that game. I'm going to pick Marquette, Michigan State to beat Marquette. Perfect. I'm going to pick Michigan State here. I'm going to pick Michigan to beat Auburn. That'd be an upset of all upsets, but I'm putting them in a rematch right there is that the Elite Eight?
That is the Elite Eight.
Elite Eight. There you go. Okay. Duke versus Baylor. I'm picking Duke. I'm picking Arizona. I'm picking Wisconsin, man. I just talking about that Midwest. I mean, like that blue collar. I feel like Wisconsin will. I feel like that's gonna be it. I'm picking Alabama, and then I'm picking
Wisconsin a nod.
You think so?
Yeah, come on.
All Big Ten.
You're gonna end up having a Final Four of all 1 seeds.
I'll pick Arizona to beat Duke.
Hey, all right.
So there you go. 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're aiming for that $1 million.
All right, and I'm gonna say okay. So who are you gonna pick here? I mean, I like Tom Izzo. I don't know. It is.
Tough to beat a team 3 times.
I think Michigan's gonna have that little chip on their shoulder of the whole thing, that little skirmish. I'm a little Michigan here. All right, and I'm gonna pick Wisconsin to beat Arizona. Screw it. So Michigan and Wisconsin in the Final Four. I'm probably nuts. It's okay.
Bold.
All right. Florida over Norfolk State. UConn over Oklahoma. These 5-12 seed. I tell you, man.
Memphis are down their 2 best guards right now. I'm going to give. I think Colorado State.
I'm going Maryland. I just don't like the name Drake. It has nothing to do with the school.
Hey, man, people pick teams based off of colors and mascots, and they do better than most experts. So
I'm picking Houston over SIUE. Man, Georgia, Gonzaga, man. Georgia's great in football. Gonzaga's right there in basketball.
That's what I'm saying.
Clemson over, yep. Purdue for sure. Illinois versus Texas. I'm picking Illinois. Kentucky over Troy, man. Feels like I'm watching like 300 or something like that. Right? Oh, what was that? Wasn't it Troy? Wasn't the movie called Troy?
Yes.
With Brad Pitt?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm picking Kentucky.
All right.
Picking UCLA over Utah State. I'm picking Tennessee over Wolford. All right. Did I miss one down?
I think you forgot
St. John's. St.
Yeah.
John's, Omaha. Boom.
Yep. St. John's.
Kansas.
Go with Arkansas. Go with
Really?
Arkansas. Come on.
Really?
Yep. Rick Pitino, Revenge Tour.
I know, but
not Rick Pitino. John Calipari, Revenge Tour.
I don't know. Okay. All right. So you want Arkansas over Kansas?
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be a tough one, man. I think that's gonna be an upset right there. I'm gonna be off the brackets screwed right there.
We gotta.
All right, St. John's. Okay, so Patino versus Calipari. Who we going with there? I think we should go with Patino. Okay.
Rick Pitino.
Right. Texas Tech over Mizzou.
I don't like that slime ball, but he's a good coach. I'll give him that.
All right, Maryland, Colorado State. I'm gonna go Maryland. Man, a lot of Big Ten teams in this damn thing, man. Holy crap. Maryland, and I'm gonna pick Florida over UConn. UConn women, not in basketball, and men. All right, okay. Let's go over here. Houston, Gonzaga. Houston's just too good, man. Purdue versus Clemson. Man, another Big Ten. Just Big Ten everywhere, dude. It's crazy. Illini versus Kentucky. I think Kentucky, they got this little, they're going to have this little thing on their shoulder from last year where they got bowed out early, right?
They're not who they used to be.
I know they're not.
I'll give you that. No, not who they used to be.
So I'm picking Illinois. Tennessee over UCLA. I just feel like this is Big Ten, man. Just like make this the whole thing is a Big Ten tournament.
That's what I'm saying. It's
right?
Pretty much is.
Illinois over Illinois. I mean over UCLA. I'm gonna pick Illinois.
There you go. All right.
I'm gonna pick St. John's.
All right.
I'm gonna pick Florida. Gonna pick Houston.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay.
St. John's.
All right.
So there's your final four.
Look at that.
How's it
All right. That is, well, the left side of your screen is actually what I had on mine. The right side of your screen, I don't remember. I think I might have had Wisconsin in there. I can't remember who else I had in there. So the last time Michigan made a national championship, they've actually made two of them in my lifetime in basketball.
Jordan Poole, remember that 3-pointer? Woo!
Yes.
Then he broke his leg, right?
Did he?
I thought someone broke their leg in that. Didn't they come down and break
their
leg?
No, yeah, that was Louisville. You're talking about the compound fracture? Yeah, that was Louisville. Yeah. That was a different year.
But year, my bad.
Last time Michigan made a national championship, they actually lost to Rick Pitino. And the truth is with Dusty May being in his first year at Michigan, I don't doubt he can make another Final Four, but I don't know if he has the acumen that Pitino has to win in those big moments quite yet. Yeah, he's probably going to break my heart again. So I'll give St. John's the national championship. Yep, and then Houston's probably a safe bet on the other side. I don't know. That's a coin flip right there.
Boom.
Wow.
All right, how many total points we scored in this game? 180. No. What is it?
Whoa.
So 90. So that's 180.
I'm going to go 112.
What? You think it's going to be a 60-60 game?
Yeah.
No, it's not 60-60. That's it's like 54 and 50. You really think so? You think 90 points we scored in this game? A shootout?
Check that. I'll go 100 and how about 122? How about that?
You think 61 points of team?
Yeah.
Average.
Yes. It's college basketball. It's a national championship. Defense is going to be prime. Shots are going to be off. People are going to be nervous. It's going to be stupid fouls. I think last year's national championship was right around there. So college is different than the NBA in that way. Like you're going to get a lot of those low scoring games, not just because guys can't score.
Well, right now, St. John's averages 79 points a game.
In the regular season.
Yeah.
The postseason, refs swallow their whistles.
Damn. All right. Well,
It's
I'm
true.
gonna go. All right, I'm gonna go 145.
All right. Meet me in the middle on that.
I am. All right, submit bracket. Here we go. My bracket has been. Whoa, what's this?
Now tell everyone what your address is on our podcast. Come on.
This is what they send me my insurance check, right? Is what they send me? Allstate.
I didn't like that point you made on your podcast. Here's his address.
Oh boy.
And his zip code and his billing information.
Favorite NCAA team. Michigan. All right, here we go. Done. I answered their survey. Okay. My odds of winning are plus 2,000.
All right.
Odds to win it all. Bet $10 to win $200. Wow. I'm good though.
We do not promote sports betting at Inside the Game.
We do not. It's true. We do not. But there's my bracket with 10 minutes to spare almost. So there you go. Not too shabby, right?
That's a good look. Yeah. Like I said, it's weird because this is the time of year where ESPN and all these major platforms will have panels full of people to choose these games and what they think will happen in these games. And oftentimes, it doesn't even go close to what they predicted. And that's the beauty of college basketball. That's the beauty of this time of year, is that people think that they know what they're talking about, and oftentimes they don't. I can't tell you how many times we've had family tournaments where people pick teams based off of colors and mascots, and they end up actually doing better than everybody else in the conversation. And that's why we enjoy college basketball, because it's not a 7-game series. It's one game. You get one, and so that's the beauty of all of it. But yeah, I will say, I mean, heck, Big Ten, SEC, I don't think 13 SEC teams should have been allowed into the tournament. I mean, if you can't even be competitive in your own conference, deserve a chance at a national championship. But who knows, yeah. JT, because we're all money hungry. They're probably going to expand it to 200 teams next year.
But here's the thing, right? It's all about money. We talk about this a lot. It's all about money, right? So we know it is, because again, like, we know that, like, obviously you win. There's 32 conferences around the country in Division I in basketball, and they make up 32 teams, right? So you win your conference, you're in, right? And then obviously the other 36 teams, right? Because it ends up being 68, right?
Yep.
The other 36 teams are selected, right? So obviously it used to be just a one-playing game, right? It used to be just 2 teams, so it'd be 34, and now it's 36, and that's obviously why, to get more money, right?
Yep.
Those 2 games, more TV deals, more money, and that's more money for what? The leagues, the teams, the conferences. The Rise League is making X amount of dollars off of how far their team goes in the NCAA tournament, right? The payout is better. Right. Oak University last year got a significant amount of money for winning that one game in the NCAA tournament, right? So you win the championship, you win the tournament, you get a bunch of money. It's money.
Right.
And if you want to compete at this level, you need money.
Right.
I'm looking at this and saying, how is it possible we're watching, like, we're watching a lot of these conferences around the country who are, like, having some really good success against big schools.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this. And this is probably where basketball specifically has gotten, like, way more competitive. I don't remember a time 15 years ago where you would see the likes of no name whoever beating these schools, these big time programs. And I think that obviously the athlete's gotten tremendously better. But what really is a separation between the player, like the third player on the roster at University of Kentucky, and the third player on the roster at Eastern Michigan?
In basketball, not much.
You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference?
In basketball, not much.
That's what I'm saying. It's
I'll
crazy,
tell you that
right?
straight up. Yeah, not much. That number one, there's ballers all over the place. Number two, like we've always said, a lot of times it's size and it's physical attributes that get you to Division I. If you're 6'10" and you can move, you're going to be a Division I player, But when you talk about depth and stuff in terms of IQ, in terms of skill, in terms of ball handling, in terms of a lot of those other things, you'll see a lot of guys at lower levels and at different programs simply because maybe size-wise they don't stack up. I think Steph Curry is probably the greatest example of this. He went to Davidson. Not to say that Davidson's a no-name school, and obviously ever since he went there, they're obviously more renowned now. But Steph was not big. He was undersized. He was a little scrawny. But all of a sudden, he goes out and plays against these big schools, and he's hitting shots from Mars. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't realize that, he is who he is. Yeah, he's not playing at a Kansas or a Kentucky, but that's just because of size. It's because he didn't size up. So no, it's not. The difference is very slight. And let's remember this: Jack Golke played at a Division II institution 2 years ago. He was a transfer from what? Hillsdale College.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Hillsdale is a Division II transfer. And then he goes out and slays Kentucky in the first round. The difference is not that big or as big as people give it credit. There's a reason why there's certain NAIA institutions that Division Ones will simply not touch for games early in the season because they know what it would mean to have a close game or even, God forbid, lose against that team. That would be horrible. So, yeah, there's ballers all over the place. That's why we love college basketball, man, because anybody can be, and especially when you talk about one game, you're not talking about a series, one game. If you're on, you're on. If you're shooting, you're shooting. So that's what people love about it. And they were one good run against NC State from getting to the Elite Eight last year. I think it was the Elite Eight, not the Final Four. They were one step away from being on the doorstep of it. Yeah,
they were in. Yeah, the Sweet 16.
They were
because they won their first game. They were in the Sweet. They were in the round of 32, round 2.
Yeah. Because they went into OT against NC State.
Yeah, they were and they were like they were one basket away from winning that game, and that magic ended. And you could argue that had they won that game, that again the Cinderella story would have been really, really cool, and you probably could have been like, yeah, I mean, because that last year's tournament specifically, I think every number one seed was gone. I don't have the bracket right in front of me from last year, but I don't believe that the number one, all the number ones where they got upset, like literally in the first 2 rounds. I think it was like the first time we saw that. It was unique. It was a unique year. And last year could have been a year where, again, and the reality is that what you need to win in March is you need to be able to hang on to the ball, right? So no turnovers. You need to force turnovers and 3-point shooting. That's how you win in the tournament. Right. I mean, we can talk about rebounding, all that stuff, but to be fair, everyone needs to rebound. I mean, that's all common knowledge. You could be, well, I'm the best rebounding team. At the end of the day, rebounds are rebounds, but it's what you do with the ball when you have it. And, obviously getting your automatics, free throw line, right, hitting your free throws. But the separating factor is threes. Look at it last year. 3-point shooting, right? You have to go off. You have to have a player go off in a game, score 10 threes in a game, right? You do that, you win games. And that's the separating factor. If you can hit your threes down the stretch, and that's what this recently, Oakland was having a hard time hitting threes in the Rise League to end their season. And then what they do in the last couple of weeks, they were hitting their threes. They were winning basketball games. That's what led them down that path, which led them over Milwaukee. I mean, they were hitting threes in that game against Robert Morris. They just were unable. A bad timeout call by Campy kind of led them to that. With that, I mean, because they were heading to they put it in, man. I mean, Jalen Jones buried a layup driving down into the paint and put one in, and they called timeout as he was hitting the basket because Campy wasn't expecting that to happen, and that came back to bite him, and they lost that game. But hey, that's a wrap here on episode number 47. Bracketology is in the books. We'll keep an eye on this. I bookmarked it, so we'll come back and we'll keep an eye on what the progress is here throughout the rest of the tournament. We've got a bunch of weeks left. We got like 3 or 4 weeks to go here. So very, very exciting stuff nonetheless. But that'll do it for here, number 47. Tom Glavine Show here on this Tuesday morning. But for Jonathan Turner, and that's Nathan Wangler. You've been watching Inside the Game here on the National Soccer Network. We appreciate you stopping by. Subscribe, like us. Check out the nationalsoccernetwork.com for all your soccer news here around the country. We'll be back here tomorrow. Same time, same place, right here on the National Soccer Network. This has been a presentation of the National Soccer Network.